Rising from an emergency meeting in Abuja, the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress on Friday declared the two-day nationwide mass protest set for February 27 and 28. Addressing journalists, NLC President Joe Ajaero says the planned protest was declared to press home workers' demands in the face of current economic hardships across the country. The NLC and Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, had on February 8 also issued a 14-day ultimatum to the federal government over the rising cost of living across the country. In a joint statement, the union said the government failed to honor the 15-point agreement reached on October 2 last year with them. The labor movements accused the government of neglecting the welfare of Nigerians and the workers. The organized labor warned that the federal government must within the next 2 weeks meet all the agreements reached, which includes a 35,000 wage award, to caution the effect of what labor considers as harsh socio-economic consequences of the IMF and World Bank-backed policies, which have led to a hike in the price of petrol and the devaluation of the naira. Well, to help us understand the issues, we have joining us in the studio now Professor Anthony Chibo-Christopher, who is an international business economist and sits currently as the head of investment, research and development for Africa at the Swiss Business School in Switzerland. Thank you so much for joining us, Prof.
Thank you, Samuel.
Yes, so it's a very strong warning that labor unions are issuing to the Nigerian federal government. And one of the key issues here in that statement is that it looks like the federal government is kowtowing to IMF and World Bank policies, and they are making Nigeria worse off than it was when we didn't obey some of those policies that were being provided as sort of alternatives by these Bretton Woods institutions. What do you make of this statement by the labor unions?
Thank you, Sambu. Good statement, right direction. We know that in any nation, once there is subsidy removal without any strategic intervention, there is a devaluation of a currency, there is high unemployment. We know the next thing during and after is high cost of living, aka hardship, very much hardship in the land. So the issue now is what happens. When there's hardship in the land, the people are going to protest. There's no surprise whatsoever. But we still have to remain focused on what must be done to relieve the hardship in the land. And you can't cut corners. Production. We'll get to that. But the hardship in the land is as a result of mismanaged capitalist policies.
All right. And what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that you see, when taxes are paid, what happened to the taxes? Monies are allocated for development. What happened to them? Mismanagement motives towards things that ordinarily should bring development, but they don't bring about development because they are mismanaged. Now, when they are mismanaged, they come about all we've talked about. Currency devaluation, unemployment, and that leads to hardship. The problem here now is that most of these organizations, the IMF or World Bank, come and they, whether knowingly or unknowingly, they come and they prescribe capitalist policies, which on their own are okay, remove subsidies, increase taxes, but there's a backdrop of suffering already. And when you prescribe these things, what happens? You bring in more suffering. And then all you need to do as an economist, I will tell you, is that go back to history. Any economist that knows this stuff will tell you that all of such problems have never been solved with such policies. They've always been solved with social interventions geared towards production. Not just a social intervention, but one that is geared towards production. I give you an example now. Take the crisis of 2008 that happened worldwide. What happened? There could have been many palliatives given out, but the American government chose to make sure that the production sector, aka the automobile sector, and all they brought out money, big money, strategic intervention funds, and made sure that all production in the automotive industries and the pharmaceutical stayed afloat. You understand? So there was a palliative, but it was geared towards production. Go to Garmin. You remember the Garmin Bank? Yeah. Each loan was not a, what do they call it? A gift. Each loan was expected to be given back. Why?
To the SMEs.
To the SMEs, which is, we try to copy that with NAPEP, right?
Yeah.
So there is an economic paradigm that even if you're going to give palliatives, you must give it with the notion that production will be enhanced. Because the only way, people don't like to hear this, the only way you get out of the current situation we are in now is with production. And what production? Can I go into that a little? Production means produce more than you're consuming, so that your leftovers can be exported, so that your currency is strong, and the currency that of the person that is buying from you doesn't affect your currency, to put it in plain words. And this is very, 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 very crucial. Again, people don't want to hear this again. Two things will get you out of this. One, political will. Let's represent political will with the government. But more importantly is national will. Because unless you're going to tell me, I didn't see any country invade Nigeria and take away all the money. I didn't hear of anything. So what has happened, or what is happening in Nigeria, is caused, delivered, and executed by Nigerians. So if there is hardship in the land, which I hope we will get out of, it is as a result of national, not only government, national mismanagement.
All right. So, well, here we have the labor unions actually saying that the federal government hasn't fulfilled its own part of the bargain. Don't forget, sometime around October last year, October 2nd, these unions entered into an agreement with the government, and there were different sort of things included in that agreement. There will be a wage award of 35,000 naira to federal workers, and then, of course, there will also be some amount, about 25,000 naira, to be paid to, I think, about 15,000 artisans here and there. There will be provision of CNG buses, and then, of course, they will also try to ramp up the refineries for them to work, and it keeps on going that way. And the labor unions say that since after the agreement, it looks like the government has gone to sleep. Why do we enter into agreements that we're unable to reach as a government with our own people? I mean, these are not foreigners.
Very bad. But permit me to bring a new paradigm here. While labor is in their rights, and I would say even in their good to do what they're doing, I would urge them to do a little bit better. A little bit more, not better. So the thing is, it concerns you where the 35,000 naira is going to come from. It concerns me, it concerns you, and it concerns everybody. It concerns the whole country on how Nigeria is going to make money to pay their debts and to pay their workers. So, if you allow me, I would say Labour could do a little bit more. And what's the more? Demand what has been promised to you, but offer solutions. Hire consultants, local and international, to brief you on what is actually going on and how it is possible to come out. So you will actually be telling government that, hey, this is what you promised us, you need to do it, but the policies that you are actually taking right now are not the best. We demand that you actually prefer these solutions. And you can give them 1, 2, 3, like I have just said now. You can say, listen, let us stop, and I'm giving one immediately. It can come through the voice of Labour, but I'm saying, let us do a reassessment of our economy to decrease foreign consumption and increase local production, sector by sector. So, and this is Labour talking, I'm advising. Can we go to the health sector? And don't forget, the goal now is to decrease foreign consumption of goods and increase. And look at it and give a target. Government who are sitting in front, let us target that foreign consumption of goods and services in the health sector by January, let's make it this year, should reduce by 50%. And you know, there's now a shortfall because there's the demand. Yeah. That means local production has to increase to fill in that gap. Just have that as a goal. Now, and let's do it in the health sector, like I said. Let's do it in the education sector because there's demand. Everybody is going abroad for school. Why? There's a reason. There's a reason for that because they want quality education. So one way to reduce foreign consumption in that sector, the education sector, would be to increase the quality of education here. Imagine if that's what Labour is saying.
To keep more people home.
Yes. So I think that's one way to go. Not just demand for what has been promised to you, but offer solutions, educated research solutions.
One of the solutions they actually offered to the government then, if I can remember very clearly, is that the government should try to stop oil theft. That we've been having lots of oil theft in the Niger Delta and it's affecting our production capacity as prescribed by OPEC. So the government should try to work towards containing oil theft and we'll have more revenues to be able to distribute to other sectors. What do you make of such a suggestion?
You remember, what I make is a beautiful suggestion. In fact, that's the duty of government, security. But I will say this is where the other part of what I was talking about comes in, which is national will. We will never ever get to where we want to go to till this scenario I'm about to describe comes about. You remember, I don't know whether it happened in Nigeria, but I know there was the Singaporean and Malaysian that with 5 Malaysians, or let me say the one I know, Singaporeans are on the street and one person takes a scrap of paper and dumps it on the road instead of in the trash can, everybody, the market woman, the small child will begin to say, why are you doing that? Please pick it up and put it there. I give that analogy with strategy. Until we reach a position where in an office, one person has stolen money, and the other people have said, no, you can't do that. No, not in this place, please. Return the money back, we're all together. You're laughing because it looks like
because people will ask for their share. I mean, that's what happens. Please, can I get a little bit out of the till?
National will, which is equal to what? A cultural change. Until that culture changes to what I have said, whatever economic policies you want to bring about, because it's the nation that is doing this to itself. It's the people.
I mean, and we're one of the most religious countries.
We even export religion.
All right. But talk to us now about Labour embarking on a warning protest for 2 days, which is now going to eventually lead to a nationwide strike. So is this the right time to actually do that? Because the economy is hemorrhaging, it's almost like the Naira is on a free fall on a daily basis. Can the Nigerian economy afford such a protest and nationwide shutdown?
No. No, it can't. It can't afford any disruptions.
Yeah, because people are also questioning Labour's decision to actually go for the last juggler.
Really, I look at everybody involved in this as not blatantly wicked. I look at it as, help me with another word that is not ignorant. I don't want to use the word ignorant. Innocently unknowledgeable. Let me use that. So while Labour should always fight for the right of its workers, like I said, they should do that with dialogue with informed strategic advice. So if you allow me to answer your question, I will say, rather than go on a strike, go on open dialogue. Insist on dialogue where you are publicly offering the government solutions.
Well, they did. I mean, there was a meeting held during the week, precisely on Monday, with the Minister of State for Labour and Employment. But that meeting ended in a deadlock because there was no agreement reached. The government is insisting that NLC should call off the proposed strike and all of that.
In regards to what I said, I don't know the details of what happened in the meeting. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, but was the meeting more of, hey, which I wouldn't be surprised if it was, hey, you are going wrong, you have not met your demands, we are warning you, better meet your demands now? Or is it more like things are hard? The policies that you're profiling right now are going to bring more damage. Yes, we are warning you, but could you first of all implement these things? And let's all watch things will get better. So there are two different scenarios of the content of that meeting. I'm saying the content of that meeting should be the latter.
All right, you're saying that they should be more nationalistic, both sides.
Yes, exactly.
But does it look like our government led by President Bola Tinubu is helpless? We don't see an economic management team supporting the president at the moment. The president is an accountant. Although we have the economic managers, right from the Minister of Finance to the Minister of State for Minister for Budget, and then the CBN Governor, Minister of Trade, all coming together. Yeah. But some people are saying that this is not enough. As an expert, do you think that President Tinubu needs an economic management team at this moment?
He needs strategic economic advisors. He needs strategic game changers, people that are willing, knowledgeably, going back in history. I always use the word history, but the correct word would be research. That is data-driven decision makers. Data-driven, historical data, driven to make their decisions based on that. Those are who he needs. So it's not emotional now. The decisions that are made are derived by plotting and using, if possible now, AI to come to unemotional decisions brought about by big data, machine learning, conglomeration of data, and your decision making. It's all available, these tools. Those are the people he needs around him. And it gives you more drive and tenacity because you know that what you're about to do, it may be an injection, painful shot now, but it's going to lead to prosperity. Then he needs the national will. And the national will is there, of course, but he needs the national will to change. That's everybody seeing that if we go down this drain, if we don't go down this, everybody's going to go down the drain.
Yeah, I remember during the recession in 2008, Obama was always on TV talking and saying that, look, we are going to spend more, but this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do.
2008, exactly.
Yeah, and we aren't seeing so much talking from the president himself, but people are also beginning to question his decision making. And people are saying that, look, most of the economic managers he surrounded himself with, number one, they don't have so much international exposure in terms of international finance. And then secondly, many of them hardly have national exposure in terms of working in the federal government. Look at the finance minister; is all practiced majorly in Lagos, and then of course the budget minister is a former governor of a state, and then the trade minister, not so much of a national experience. So how do we ensure that the president also revamps his appointing system? Because when we have similar presidents having problems like this, they went for the Konjo-Iwealas and Olusegun Agagu and all of Aganga and all of that. And do you think that this is also a place President Tinubu needs to think? Yes,
because solutions to problems are gotten from ideas, and not just ideas, new ideas. Every solution is different. Yes, some countries have gone through this, but no country in the world has gone through exactly what we are going through. So you're going to need what we call gifted, innovative leaders with vast international experience. No doubt about that, Sambo. That is a prerequisite to hold any position now that is going to take us from this problem. I add also, I don't know anywhere, any nation that went, quote me, that went according to just laid back, principled IMF policies that ever got out of their trouble. Quote me.
And that's a fear, actually. People are saying that, looks like President Tinubu is just open arms with the IMF and World Bank. And some of them are prescribing that, for example, the price of petrol should be between 750 and 1,000 naira. And people are saying if we go that route, even national security.
Every country that India, Indonesia, Singapore, China that came out of whatever problem we seem to be in, did it their way. Did it according to their policies and their own innovation. And that says a lot. And there was always a national will. And that national will was a recognition that we are in trouble. And consuming the national cake, as it has always been, will lead to a more serious trouble.
And we have a problem of consumerism. Lots of people have taste for foreign goods. They relish anything that, you know, it's made in abroad, made in
do you remember
in the UK, US, and all of that.
I'm much older than you, but do you remember? You may not. There was a time it was pride to have a 504 Peugeot made in Kaduna. It was a proud thing. People would come together and celebrate that you bought a brand new. That's where the word tear leather came from.
Yeah, tear leather. Yeah.
Remember Volkswagen?
Yeah.
Now this. So we're not. What I'm saying here has never. It's not like it has never happened before. They were the Mercedes of this world. They were the Toyotas of this. But yet this country stuck to what it made. Yeah,
because government showed the direction, and then former presidents, military head of state were using those vehicles.
My brother, you helped me say what I was about to say. That is what they need to do. Cut foreign importation, especially in these strategic manners, so that our need to use our currency and change it to another man's currency gets cut down. At the same time, fill the gap with local production. Innovation can take care of this. There are many people that if they are backed up with a lot of investment incentives, will come here and set up. Tomorrow, I've been doing investment setups in Africa for 20 years. I can tell you with the right policies and incentives, they will come in tomorrow.
And as we try to round off this conversation, I want to take you back to a decision reached by the Egyptian authorities during the week. Egypt decided to dump the US dollar. Mm-hmm. Can we afford to do something like that for our international trade and all of that?
We should be thinking about it. Can I put it that way? We should be thinking about it. You know the BRICS, right?
Yeah.
What's the whole story about the BRICS? Very righteous story and simple. We want to trade amongst ourselves in our own currencies. Is that not a human right? What if that is not, then I don't know what is. We should be thinking towards that direction. In fact, we should be we should have been one of the first people, if we were in the right focus, to be there.
Yeah, some people even said that it will be called Brinks if Nigeria does join. And they will.
Or Brinks N. Or what? They'll find a way to put the N inside.
All right. And the government said actually we haven't joined, we haven't applied and all of that. But of course, many Nigerians would want that to happen. Just before I let you go, is there really any way we can try to reach a middle ground between the people of Nigeria and their government? Because the people too have a critical role to play. Like, for example, economic activities in agriculture have dwindled, and people are hungry. So how do we ensure that we consume what we produce, ramp up production, like you have said, and then help the Naira to grow through government participation to support big-time farmers, SMEs, and all of that within the agri sector, which some say is actually one of the low-hanging fruits at the moment?
This agri sector is affected. You remember, I don't know if I said it, supply chain disruption. Big name, big word for insecurity. Big words for the fact that farmers cannot produce. And production in the agricultural industry has gone down. See, my brother, the will to provide, I'm sure everybody says this every day, but this is just it. The will and the ability to provide security for basic farming is number one. Then the incentive for mechanized and industrialized farming comes on top of that. But unfortunately, I would have loved to talk about this second one right now, but you and I know that even the basic one is being hampered right now as we speak. And there's no other way to solve it but to nationally and politically go there and solve it. I know why I'm using these words, because I believe from research that if we want to solve the problem, that this problem will disappear overnight.
And Prof, you are based in Switzerland. How does the Western society actually look at also the leaders in the midst of these issues at the moment? We just came out of an election, and see how the economy has just gone. I mean, with the Naira going down, what's the perception about Nigeria outside of Africa, for example?
Let me tell you my experience, because another person will come here and tell you a different experience. Truthfully, my experience is that we are looked upon very badly. It's almost, can I use the word on TV? It's almost embarrassing. It is, in fact, it is embarrassing. In my office, I face mild suggestions, polite suggestions that I shouldn't attract any investments to my own country. So I find myself having to divert investments to Ivory Coast. So you can understand how embarrassing that is.
All right, such a sad development. We hope that our government will help the country actually progress much more than it is. The government says it's working on renewed hope. We hope that that hope will be renewed daily. We must thank you so much, Professor Anthony Chibo-Christopher. Is an international business economist and then the head of investment, research and development for Africa at the SBS Swiss Business School in Switzerland. Thank you so much for helping us to understand these issues. And feel free always to join us here at Arise anytime you're around. Thank you so much for joining us.